Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Dig-In webinar for October. Before we get started, we're going to let a few minutes pass so that we can give a chance for everybody to join. But welcome. Hello, everybody. We're just giving it a few minutes before everybody can join in, and we'll get started shortly. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. My name is Mario Munoz. I'm the Education Outreach Chair for the Women in Mining Arizona chapter. First, we'd like to say welcome and thank you for joining us today for our talk on reclamation in DeLamar Silver Mine. Before we get started, we're going to give a brief introduction to our organization and why we're hosting this talks, if you've never attended one before. The Women in Mining Arizona chapter, or WIM Arizona, is a nonprofit organization with 5 objectives, one of which is to educate our members and the public on technology, economic, regulatory, and other mining-related topics. So these monthly Dig-In webinars are a part of our efforts to meet this commitment. We also want to give a special announcement. This Friday, we are having a networking event at the Alfie Norville Museum in downtown Tucson in collaboration with the group Young Mining Professionals and our new WIM U of A student chapter. So this is really exciting. The event will include announcing the WIM Arizona scholarships recipients, speed networking with young and seasoned mining professionals, and an exclusive night to tour the Alfie Norville Mineral Museum. So tickets are $30 for non-members and $15 for members. So if you'd like to attend, please join us. We will post a link so that you can register in the chat shortly. We'd like to also give a brief thank you to our payload sponsor for this Dig-In, SWCA Environmental Consultants, and to our overall sponsor, the WIM Arizona Platinum sponsor, which is Freeport-McMoRan. So with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Andrew Harley from SWCA for their sponsorship talk. Andrew, welcome.
Great, thanks Mario. Yeah, look, I just want take the opportunity to just say how grateful we are to be able to support such a great organization as this, especially on a day where Tricia is talking. Tricia and I go back a fair way, so it's always good to hear her talk. Look, SWCA is we're kind of known for the bookends of mining. Predominantly, initially, we've done a lot of the upfront work around upfront studies and exploration, NOIs, a plan of operations, feasibility planning, feasibility studies, on the first party, but also on the third party side of things. So we've got good experience on the whole permitting side of things. So that's one bookend. The other bookend that we're developing and working on more and more is on the closure reclamation side of things and integrating a lot with our ecological restoration group, to really see if we can, what value we can bring to the closure process. And more recently and growing quite rapidly, stuck in the middle, is our operational support. We've got a strong groundwater monitoring group, air monitoring group, all of those aspects within it as well. So SWCA is increasing their footprint. We now have offices across the whole US on both seaboards, and of course, Arizona, Idaho, Nevada, all those key mining places within there as well. So that's essentially what SWCA does. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Donna or myself, and be glad to help.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Now we'll turn it over to Donna, who will introduce our speaker for today.
Hello, my name is Donna Mori, and I am the Programs and Events Chair for the Women in Mining Arizona chapter. I want to introduce Ms. LaRue, currently serving as Senior Permitting Specialist at Integra DeLamar. She has led the development of various mine and reclamation plans, feasibility studies, mine plan amendments, exploration drilling plans of operations in Idaho, Montana, Oregon, and Utah. She has over 20 years of experience as a NEPA specialist and has been responsible for environmental assessments and EISs. Tricia is using her direct experience coordinating with various federal, state, and local agencies, including the Bureau of Land Management, Army Corps of Engineers, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Idaho Department of Lands, and Idaho Fish and Game, to advance the planning and permitting of the proposed project. Tricia?
Thanks, Donna. Thanks for that intro. I want to say thank you. Thanks to Women in Mining Arizona chapter. And we have this little thing popped up here. Just to let everybody know that we're pretty excited here in Idaho. We're about to have our own chapter. So I know myself and the rest of the board, we're definitely looking forward to seeing everybody at future annual conferences. Yeah. Definitely excited about now we're going to be part of WIM. So we're really looking forward to it. So we should be, I want to say by October 28th, everybody should be seeing some kind of announcement from us. So we're going to be definitely, trying to involve people as many activities we can moving forward. So Donna, you'll be hearing from me for sure. So we'll see what we could do in the future with the two chapters, but pretty excited about that. But the whole reason I'm here today is actually to give a little presentation, a little brief summary of our project that we have in Idaho. And SWCA actually is our third-party contractor on that project. So we're pretty excited about it. So anytime anybody in Integra DeLamar is given an opportunity to talk about our project, we're like, yes, we'll be more than happy to. So with that, I think we'll just get going with the presentation. So let me share my screen. Sorry, I'm freezing up a little bit. Hold on just a second. All right, so I'm hoping everybody can see that, correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, it was freezing up a little bit. I'm like, no, not today, please. So here's a little picture of our site as we have it today. As you can see, we do have some historic mining areas at our site. So we do have some redevelopment of the historic areas, but we do have a lot of the greenfield development as well. So we have both worlds here. Our project area is located in southwestern Idaho. We're about 50 miles southwest of Boise as a crow flies. If you try to drive out there, it's at least an hour and a half, maybe an hour and 45 minutes. The nearest communities include Marsing to the north, Jordan Valley to the west, and Silver City to the east. It needs to be noted that Silver City currently has summer seasonal residents only, so about 30 people out there during the summer. The DeLamar project area includes the formerly producing DeLamar and Florida mountain pits, which were mined in the 80s and the 90s. And you can kind of see in here some of the disturbance areas. We have a war eagle on this map just for some historical context. We're not actually doing, the war eagle is not included in our proposed project at this time. So now for some little fun historical pictures of Silver City and some of the early miners out there. Our mining activities began in the DeLamar project area, May of 1863. That's when placer gold deposits were discovered in Jordan Creek. That's just upstream from what later became the town site of DeLamar. The first silver gold lodes were discovered in quartz veins at War Eagle, and this resulted in a rush of miners to the area and initial settlement of Silver City. By 1866, there were actually 12 mills in operations near War Eagle. And as you can see, we have a photo of Silver City. Not too many trees left over there because of all the mills and needing some lumber, but that's a good picture of it in 1868. So from 1876 through 1888, there was only minor production at War Eagle mountain mines. However, significant silver gold veins were discovered during this time at the DeLamar Mountain and the Florida Mountain, which leads us to our project area today. Here's some pictures of the mills in 1900 before the declining grades and increasing costs caused the closure of the mines in 1914. So we've got DeLamar over here, and then we've got our Silver City over on the right. I mean, sorry, Florida Mountain on the right. So between 1914 and 1920s, there really wasn't very much production in the area. However, things did pick up in the 1930s when gold and silver prices increased. This was short-lived, however, and mining in the area was once again inactive from 1942 until the mid-1960s. In 1969, a joint venture comprised of Earth Resources Company, Superior Oil Company, and Canadian Superior Mining acquired the property in the DeLamar, Florida Mountain area. In 1977, Earth Resources began operation of the DeLamar mine, and in 1984, NERCO purchased interest in the project and then became operator of the joint venture. But however, NERCO was purchased by the Kennecott Copper Corporation in '93, and just 2 months later, Kennecott sold its interest to Kinross. So that leads us to modern times. So here's a picture. The one on the top is the picture of the site in 1974. This is prior to the open pit mining. So you can see DeLamar and Florida Mountain in the background. And then on the bottom, we have what it looks like today. So here's DeLamar pits. And then up here, Florida Mountain. And in case, you know, just to catch up on the history of that, Kinross actually stopped their exploration in 1997, and mining was stopped at the end of '98 due to unfavorable metal prices. In 1999, the mill was closed, and Kinross placed all the operations in care and maintenance. So that led to mine closure activities in 2003. So that takes us to the reclamation activities. So in 2004, a closure plan and water management plan was submitted and approved by BLM. One of the problems addressed in the plans was the excess water gathered at the tailings pond. So you can see over here in the bottom corner, they had tailings pond that's about 140 acres. The tailings dam, which you can see down here in this bottom picture, was designed as an earth rock structure with a clay foundation. Over a 6-year time period, Kinross actually completed 8 large-scale earthworks projects. So that included the construction of the water management pond, which you see at the top. They started, that's the picture with the line there starting. Some engineered channels that routed the stormwater runoff from the mine facilities. And aerators, which enhanced the evaporation, and land application to reduce water volumes in the tailings pond. So that's over here, the side. And yes, those are sage grouse over there, so just ignore them. So as you can see, this bottom corner, you're starting to do some reclamation. So it was the typical steps in the reclamation, and included the stripping the topsoil from disturbance areas, the grading to match surrounding topography, and then cover with 8 inches, minimum of 8 inches of topsoil on top of the other, cap cover, and then also seeding. The types of vegetation that were planted and that you can see today out at the site included western juniper, Douglas firs, choke cherries, and mountain mahogany. We also at the site have yarrow and wheatgrass and bluegrass. So, you can see all the activities that they did. Because of those activities, Kinross Gold Corporation actually received BLM's Hard Rock Mineral Award in 2009 for the DeLamar mine. So that's what the activities look like during reclamation. And then here's some pictures of the site today. As you can see, the water management pond, the engineered channels down in here, and the land application down here are still doing their job of the water management on the site. And we currently continue to monitor the site under the existing signalization and IPDS permits. So this basically takes us to our current activities. So here's DeLamar and the Florida Mountain as it is today. So as you can see here, we are in the initial planning stages of our mine plan of operations. The DeLamar project is currently planned as a 35,000 ton per day gold silver heap leach facility. And we're hoping to have our plan of operations submitted by the end of 2023. So I know Donna and Andrew are writing that date down right now. We're using a modified approach from the typical steps of a mining project. So as you can see in the schedule here, Typically, the mine plan is submitted before the baseline studies initiate. However, our goal with our approach is to reduce the risk of substantive issues or concerns being brought up during the scoping process, which in turn would require new alternatives in the mine plan. So we're doing that to try to reduce the need to collect additional data, which would cause additional schedule delays. So we're trying to get our plans of study so robust and collect enough data early in the process while we're interacting with the agencies, getting buy-off from the agency staff so that we can identify any major issues or concerns that may be considered in the development of the mine plan. Because at this time, it'd be nice to identify which additional alternatives we may need to consider. And should note that to date, we've actually identified some agency concerns, and it has led to some revised mine features. So that'll be part of the mine plan itself. So at this time, we have a cost recovery in place with BLM. We also have SWCA under contract as a third-party contractor, and we're conducting our baseline studies. So that leads us to this slide. So today, we have initiated some baseline studies for vegetation and soils, cultural resources, wildlife, aquatic resources, wetland seeps and springs, surface water hydrology and quality, groundwater hydrology and quality, and geochemical characterization. We've also started some early coordination with federal and state agencies as well as tribes. The jurisdictional agencies that have been involved with the review of the plans of study and baseline technical reports include Idaho Department of Lands, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, the Corps of Engineers, and Idaho Fish and Game. Some other agencies will wait until the mine plan is submitted and the notice of intent is published to determine their involvement. However, they have been engaged regarding the project, so they've all been contacted. So, next one. So, surface water sampling and groundwater have started. So to date, right now, we have established 34 surface water sampling points. These are all selected based on their proximity to the planned mine features. And from this data, we provide quarterly data to BLM and IDEQ for use in future baseline studies through the NEPA process. In addition to the surface water, we're also collecting groundwater baseline data. This data is being collected from 28 groundwater monitoring wells. These were installed in 21 and 22. The placement of the wells were selected based on planned mine features. And as they're named, these are going to be used for establishment of baseline data, but also for modeling and monitoring of the site. For those that are not familiar with IDEQ requirements, IDEQ actually requires points of compliance around any mining area. What this does is it outlines the monitoring, sampling, and reporting requirements so that we can meet groundwater quality standards. The points of a compliance is designed to basically ensure that mining activities do not adversely impact groundwater and any of the interconnected surface waters. Because the point of compliance process takes about 18 to 24 months, the establishment of this groundwater monitoring network is critical to the project schedule and is why the placement of the groundwater wells has been a focus early in the process. You can see a few pictures from the site. So critical to the mining plan of operations and for the NEPA process is the development of the groundwater model. The groundwater model describes the interaction between surface water and groundwater, which is critical for the identification of water management alternatives in the mine plan. As previously mentioned, the groundwater model will help establish the points of compliance for IDEQ. Another extremely critical path is the geochemical characterization of the mine materials. This includes the handling of the waste rock or legacy material, including existing pit backfill and tailings. This information from the groundwater model, is going to help identify potentially acid generating material, and that's going to require some special handling and management. So we're getting started on that. As you can see from the picture, we've got some humidity cell testing is underway, and might not look like a lot to everyone else, but we're very excited. Looks good to us. We're excited for what's coming up. So moving on in our baseline studies, Next up is cultural resources. We actually just completed our cultural resource surveys last week for 22. We're going to be submitting our revised baseline technical report in 23, and then we're going to be using that to establish our baseline for the NEPA process, as well as moving forward with the development of mitigation plans and down the future, what are we going to do with our site. Here's a few little pictures from our site, including some carvings from the Basque sheep herders. These are called arbor glyphs. And also a picture of a building from the DeLamar town site and also an old attic. So next we have vegetation and soils. These studies have initiated and they're going to be completed in 2023. At that time, we're also going to be submitting our revised technical reports and to be used for our baselines for analysis. And it should be noted that the soils is really important to us right now because not only is it part of our baseline studies, but the soil service are going to provide a description of the salvageable topsoil, aka growth media, that we're going to need to use or identify for effective reclamation, which we all know is vital for the development of our reclamation plan. So we're pretty excited about getting that data this year and getting some more next year, but we've got enough to at least get started on our mine plan. So another baseline study that's initiated and is going to be completed in 23 is our wildlife studies. To date, we've conducted aerial raptor surveys and aerial greater sage-grouse select presence absence surveys. You can see the picture of the crew filling up the helicopter. This year we did some amphibian surveys. They were initiated this year. We're going to plan to have a follow-up survey next year as well. And we're also going to be doing our terrestrial surveys. So also have a couple of pictures in there, little garter snake and a Pacific tree frog from site. So in addition to general wildlife studies, we've also initiated our aquatic resource studies. The aquatic resources includes the study of fisheries, stream habitat, and macroinvertebrate resources. The water quality data collected for aquatic resources is specific for the establishment of habitat conditions for fish and macroinvertebrates. So this is in addition to the surface water sampling we're already doing for hydrology and water quality. These also will be completed here in 2023. Last but not least is wetland seeps and springs. This data is not only going to help establish any potential waters of the U.S. that are going to be protected under Section 404 of the Clean Water Act, but this information also provides critical information for the surface and groundwater interactions and is included in the groundwater model. So these surveys will also be completed next year. So we're still early in our planning for evaluation of air quality. However, we have initiated a few things to get everything started. To establish baseline conditions, we've installed a meteorological monitoring station. See in this picture down here near our current mine office. And we're also going to be installing an additional station up at Florida Mountain to get full coverage of the site. Florida Mountain's a few thousand feet higher in elevation, so it'd be good to have both of them there. So these stations are going to be put on site to provide some site-specific data to be used in our upcoming air modeling efforts. Air quality evaluations and greenhouse gas emission studies are going to be initiated in 2023. And just so y'all know, for who's not familiar, with our site, we are surrounded by a lot of agricultural. So that was another importance of being able to get some site-specific data for our models. So that leads us to our proposed activities for 2023. So we're going to continue to work closely with the agencies and tribes to complete our baseline studies. And we're actually going to start the initiation of our ethnographic study, which will be vital for our future Section 106 consultation and tribal consultations. We're also going to be collecting surface and groundwater data and going to continue the groundwater and geochemical modeling. We anticipate our mine plan of operations is going to be submitted in the fourth quarter of 23. So we will be working closely with the agencies to get that plan developed and considered complete so that we can get our notice of intent in there and get the NEPA process started. Understanding the long lead time for permits such as cyanidization permit and the point of compliance, we're going to initiate early discussions with IDQ as soon as we get our mine plan submitted. So we're going to do that to try to ensure that we're collecting the necessary information as to make the process as smooth as possible. We're also going to be working closely with BLM and SWCA to get other baseline studies completed, such as environmental justice, socioeconomics, recreation, grazing, greenhouse gases, transportation, noise, public health and safety, visual resources, geologic resources, and land use, just to name a few. So that is it.
All right, awesome. Well, that's very informational. Really cool projects to see the child reclamation side of the mine. We are going to go ahead and pass into the Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free to enter them in the Q&A section or the chat. As we're waiting for them, we do have a few right here that. So what are some of the key features of the reclamation that Kinross did, like water treatment, that help with the environment?
Well, I think a lot of it was just being able to the channeling. So I think the channels were important to keep the run of mine of water separate, right, from anything that needed to be treated. So we do have an IPDS and we have cyanidization permits. So there is still treatment going on. It's being collected. So we do have a collection pond, and so that's treated, and then the water management pond. So there's been a treatment of the water on the site, but I think that's kind of the biggest thing is they did a lot of work, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why they got the award they did, because it took a lot of work to channel all that water and to be able to handle all that water and treat all that water. So we continue to do that today.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure along the process, there's a lot of road bumps and challenges. What were some of those challenges, and how did the team overcome them?
We don't have a lot of knowledge of what Kinross did. Like I said, we acquired the property in 2017, so these had already kind of been done. I think a lot of it was just the water management and how do you get that water out of there. So I think initially probably some of their biggest roadblocks were, how are we going to get this done? So, evaporation wasn't happening fast enough. So it seems like that's why they applied the aerators and the land application treatment, right? Just do everything you can to get as much water off that pond as you could without having to just keep taking everything into the water management pond, or the treatment pond.
Mm-hmm. Next question comes from Tony Hammond. He wanted to know, is the mine within the limits of the old DeLamar mine, and will it involve disturbing the already reclaimed area?
Yes. So actually, we're trying to utilize as much disturbed area as possible, but we are going to be opening up the pits for DeLamar and Florida Mountain. And also, some of the other dumps that, that were there. But all in all, I want to believe about 20% of anything planned in our mine facilities is located on previously disturbed lands. So we're going to be using the whole road, we're trying to use as much footprint as we possibly can for our operations.
How many employees do you currently have, and what is the temperatures up at the site compared to Arizona? I'm sure it must be very different.
It varies a little bit. Right now, we probably have about 50 employees altogether. We're still early in our process. We're still doing exploration drilling on multiple areas out at the site. Eventually, it'll be 300 to 350 employees is what's being anticipated. And our temperatures, we range from anything from negative, during the winter, up to we're in the 90s during the summer. So it's just, their elevation that we have, we start dropping about right now. And so you're probably not going to get over 50 or 60 for very much longer up there. And then, our average precipitation is about 19 inches a year. A lot of that comes from snow, and we start getting that, I think we could start getting, we're going to get a dusting probably next week. But we get about 1-2 feet, I would say, a month between December and April up there. So that does kind of present some challenges to the site for sure.
I'm sure. Speaking of employees, if a high school student is exploring, the different degrees and they would like to do some of this work with the reclamation, what are some of the degrees that you recommend for this line of work?
What we're depending on and what's really been helpful to us as some of our contractors is, soil scientists, rangeland, things like that. Reclamation, yes, a lot of that's engineering, right? So you need to do a lot of that engineering to deal with any of the potential issues you have with any of the mine waste or anything like that. But what we're finding is for our reclamation plan in particular, is we're just trying to, based off of our climate, based off of our available topsoil, things like that, we're looking for the ability, like what vegetation is going to take, like what is going to be the best way to do this. So my perspective, right, I come from an environmental kind of perspective, but I think if people can get into that kind of, soils and or water, even water quality, water management, things like that, hydrology, hydrogeology, vegetation soils, that's what in our mind, that's what's going to kind of help with the reclamation is kind of, how do we get it back to the most original topography as we can? How are we going to do this with the landscape scale? Things are changing a little bit, right? As everybody is seeing. Reclamation now, you're trying to do more of a holistic approach and trying to look at it from every, angle, not just, oh, we're going to just cover this up, throw some seed on and be done with it. So now we need to look for some other ways to help, right? Get everything back to as original as it could be historically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and speaking of the holistic approach, what are some of the things that Integra has done to work with local communities?
Yeah, so actually we have a community outreach group, and Emily's been doing a really great job of talking to the communities and reaching out to various groups. So not only are we talking to the towns and the communities near us, but we're also talking to recreationist groups, we're talking to hunters, we're talking to the ranchers. So there's been a lot of outreach for the past, I want to say 18 months, maybe a little bit longer, just to get out there. We're really early in the process. We don't even have a mine plan of operations, right? So we haven't even really have anything in concrete yet. However, we are getting out there and just saying, hey, we're going to be here in the community. We're going to be here for a while, and we want to get to know people. We want to know what people's concerns, issues are. So she's been doing a lot of outreach, open houses, going to events, having scholarships for, different high schools. So we've just been trying to get out of the community just to, A, tell them who we are, B, get some input from them if they have any concerns or, any lessons learned. Like, some of these people have been around mines for years. So what can we do maybe different?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and continuing on that, the different or doing things in a different way. Are you looking at alternative energy or other special features proposed for the mine?
Yeah, so we're until the mine plan comes out, we don't have anything in concrete right now, but we are looking at alternative sources such as solar panels, liquid natural gas, right? So we're looking at different things, rail elevators, things that we're trying to reduce how much energy we're going to require from like transmission lines, traditional. And so we're excited to see what we're going to be able to figure out with, especially like with solar. I think we're really excited to see what we can do with that.
For sure. And Tricia, what do you say the best part about your job and being a female working in the mining industry is?
Well, honestly, coming from consulting and now on the industry side, I love not having a timesheet. I just have to say that first and foremost. It's amazing. No, I love it because it's just fun to get in and you're actually at the site, you're talking to people and you're part of the process. And so you're getting to be part of that planning process and everything. And, I work with a really great group, so I don't ever really see that weird male female kind of interaction, that happens a lot, but we're a smaller group and, yeah, we're just having a lot of fun right now, just trying to get everything planned and programmed. But I have seen over the last few years, there definitely has been a change, which I'm really encouraged by how many women are now more involved with the industry. And so, sometimes you might have a little different perspective than, some of the older gentlemen that have been in the industry for a while. So it's nice to have a network to talk to and be like, okay, what have you seen? What have you done? It's just nice sometimes to reach out. Doesn't have to be necessarily female, but it is nice to have a female perspective sometimes. So that's why I love groups like WIM, because we do have that opportunity now to reach out to somebody and go, what did you do? What can I do different, with what I'm doing? But it's just so much fun in this industry right now, because everybody you can tell everybody's just kind of got a different energy about them, and we're not trying to do everything the same way that's been done for 50, 60, and 100 years, right? We're trying to find some innovative kind of ways to do things. So it's a fun time to be in mining for sure.
Absolutely. And a big part of our audience is high school or current university students. What advice would you give to them as they're progressing through or exploring their career options?
Yeah, I would encourage everyone to go do summer internships as much as possible. Hopefully they're paid. Hopefully you get paid. But if nothing else, I think it will really open your mind to what's out there, because you might think, oh, I want to do hydrogeology, but then you get out there and realize, no, I just want the geology part, or maybe I want to get into the geochemical part. There's so many different things, but I think it would be really nice for everyone. And maybe you take 3 summers, maybe you do whatever you can, even if you go work as an admin, right? Get some kind of admin position if you can. If you're too young to actually work out at a site, right? There are other options. You could try to get involved somehow with office work or whatever, just so you can get some experience seeing all the different positions and roles there are. Because everybody thinks, oh, you're either the mine engineer or you're dealing with water. There's so many roles involved with mining. I think it would just be go to a company and ask them what they do, all the different roles, and then see if you can get an internship. And then go talk to people, just ask for, 30 minutes of somebody's time and just be like, well, how did you get to where you're at in your career? I think you'll learn a lot from people doing that. Just find out the history of people, right? Like I started off as a transportation planner. So whoever knew I would end up in mining. So I think it's just that kind of thing of go talk to people, find out how they got to where they're at, and then it might spur something in you. And I think it's just, if you have a passion for something, do it. But if not, keep yourself open to possibilities. You might want to be a geochemist like Dr. Harley on the call today.
All right, awesome. And last question, speaking of internships, is Integra offering any internships right now?
We do. We're just finished up right now. However, feel free to reach out to me, and then I can pass on the information. We do look for internships during the summers. So we usually kind of send out things in the springtime. So definitely send you or Donna, and then y'all just get in contact with me, and then we will pass on any information. And you can go to our website and take a look, but I'll make sure Donna has all that information to send to the group.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Well, those are all the questions, so we'll go ahead and send it off to the outro.
I want to give a huge thank you to Tricia for presenting today. We also want to invite any WIM Arizona members interested in joining one of our subcommittees to reach out to us via social media or email. As you can see, we are active on social media, and you can reach out to us there or via email. Our email is also going to be put in the chat if you need to grab it there. Our chapter website is updated on a regular basis with information that may be of interest to those who have called in for this. We have a really fun networking event planned this Friday down in Tucson. Please consider networking with us, and we can get you more information on that. The registration link, it can be found through Women in Mining. And lastly, we want to mention that we're bringing back our diversity and inclusion workshop, which will be December 4th in Tucson, Arizona, as part of the Arizona SME Conference. It can be registered independently. You can be part of the SME conference. You can also attend the diversity and inclusion workshop without registering for the conference. And one last thing, we have saved the date for the Women National Conference, which will be in Tucson next April before it gets too warm. So I hope everyone can join us there. More information will be coming out on the conference here in the winter as we get ready for registrations. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this chat. Thank you, Tricia, for presenting and for telling us all about the DeLamar Mine project.
Thanks, guys.